Hello guys, I am the alternate, and today I'm going to be giving you guys what I believe to be the top 10 roller coasters in the world that I have ridden at least. So you guys are most likely, and I mean most likely, going to disagree with this list. If there's any of you where this is your top 10, that would be absolutely crazy. But yeah, these are the top 10 rides that I have ridden, and I am thinking of making just a regular, top 10 in the world, considering those that I haven't ridden. And I'm also thinking of a lot of videos that I could do. So you guys be sure to subscribe. Thank you for coming to the channel, and like if you enjoyed. Okay, so I'm just going to start by saying that these all are in the US. So let's go ahead and kick it off with number 10, which is going to be the Beast at Kings Island in Cincinnati, Ohio. This is it's at 10 for a reason. My coaster count is not like in the hundreds or anything. It's not very high, but I've definitely been around there. I've definitely gone around. So I have the Beast sitting at number 10 because it is a long ride, although most of it is just chain lift, but it is a very long ride, and you're going out into the trees and you just don't know what's happening or what's going to happen next. So that's why this ride is at number 10, simply just because of the long ride time. Alright guys, now going into number 9. Now this is going to trigger a lot of you. Please do not make me into a meme, but this is going to be Millennium Force. Now all of your guys' minds were probably just blown, but I am sorry. It's a ride. It stands. It's 300 feet tall, first to 300. It's a great innovation. It is. I'll give it that. The structure is actually very, thin for how tall it is, and the lift is very fast. But when it comes to the actual ride, I just don't think that it's that great. You've got some overbank turns, which those are always fun. No, they're not. But the few airtime hills it has are actually not bad. The first one's just boring because you go over it way too slow. But the last two are actually really fun, and the very last overbanked turn is actually fun because you're just flying through that turn at that point. I think they made it way too small, but they might have done it on purpose because I think that part's actually really fun because you're just flying through a turn, and if you've got your hands up, which you should on this ride or on any ride, then I think it's a decent ride. That's why it's in my top 10. Alright guys, now in my number 8 spot, this is a rather new ride, and it's going to be Banshee at Kings Island. And this is a great B&M invert. It's just great. That's what I can say about it. It's just inversion after inversion because that's all you can really do on a B&M invert. But there is no mid-course brake run, so it's literally just straight inversion after inversion after inversion, which I like. The first drop is actually great. On a lot of inverts, you don't get great first drops, but I think this one is really good, and I really do enjoy this ride. I hope you guys have this in your top 10 because it's actually a really, really good invert, especially for inverts. They're always unique because your feet are hanging, but this ride is just a good ride. So on to number 7. Alright guys, coming in at number 7 is another recent B&M, but it's Gatekeeper. It's a B&M wing. Now this ride, I like the first drop. You guys are probably like, it's an inversion into a drop. I like the part where you're just sitting at the top of that, and then you literally just twist underneath yourself. I think that is the coolest feeling. Now this ride, it's a ride. I'm gonna say that it's not very exciting. It does have a little rattle as well that it's gotten, but it's a decent ride. I'll definitely ride it every time I go to Cedar Point. It's all gone. Which, for those of you who don't go to Cedar Point often, is don't never go as soon as the park opens. Always go to the back and come up. So later in the day is when Gatekeeper doesn't have a long line. So yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Alright guys, so the next one's not at Cedar Point or Kings Island, which you guys probably thought all my rides were at. No, this is Nitro at Six Flags Great Adventure. So another B&M, and actually if you guys are wondering, B&M is not my favorite. I'm an M person. But this is a B&M hyper, and it's really, really good. The chain on it is slow, which did make operation time really slow, but it's still a great ride, especially in the back. If you guys have never ridden any ride in the back, just try it. Not on a wooden coaster, obviously, but try a ride in the back because they are just amazing. You're gonna get pulled over those hills, and it just feels great. You'll get airtime on a ride that has no airtime if you sit in the back, guarantee it. So Nitro, it's just a solid ride. It doesn't break down a lot. The only bad thing is that the chain is really slow because it's an older B&M hyper. It's the 4-seaters. So that's all I'm going to say about Nitro. Oh, I almost forgot. The Nitro Helix. Oh boy. So if you guys have been on Intimidator, I have not. But I'm sure the Helix feels probably something like that. Maybe not exactly, but that's what I thought it felt like. And yeah, it's very, very intense. Alright guys, now moving on to a newer B&M Hyper, we've got Diamondback at Kings Island. Now this ride, I mean, it's like Nitro, I'm gonna say that. But, you know, you guys are probably like, why you hear so much about the chain speed? But the chain speed is quicker on this one, which means operations are quicker. And I think the train is longer on this one because it's only the 2-seater. So they would literally have to make the train longer to fit, because this is a high-capacity ride, even though it does stack. But I think the fact that this ride, the car is longer, if you sit in the back, you're going to get even more airtime than if you sit in the back of Nitro. Because you're just in the back and the car is longer, so you're going to get pulled over even more. This ride does have a lot of great airtime. Both B&M Hypers have a great drop. But yeah, that's what I'm going to say about Diamondback. And if you guys are wondering why they're above Millie, it's because they have airtime. I mean, that's literally the only reason. That's what Coaster Junkies look for if you've seen any videos. Alright now guys, at number 4 we have King Dakar. Now you guys are probably expecting Top of the Dragster to be right in front of this one, but it is not. But we're going to look at King Dakar real quick. And you know, a lot of people say this is rough, but I do not think that it is that rough. I mean, I wasn't directly in the front. Too bad I only got to do this once because it was closed for the win for the rest of the day. But I am glad that I got to do this ride. It is a very good ride. I love hydraulic launches. They're probably my favorite element. So the hydraulic launch is great. No, you do not get airtime at the very end. Maybe that's just where I was sitting, but I don't think you do. So no, it is not worth having the over-the-shoulder restraints. But yeah, that's the big downfall with King Dakar. And I didn't think it was that rough. I don't know why, if it's just in New Jersey, but it felt a lot windier than Top Thrill Dragster. But that's not really a factor unless you're holding your hands up like me, warrior. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and move on to number 3. So now you guys know I've been to Cedar Point. You're probably expecting number 1 to be Maverick or something. Nope, it's at number 3. The 2 in front of it, 1 is just good. The other one has like deep value within me. So we're gonna look at Maverick, and this ride. I'm thinking of making a taller version that's like this, but Intamin Blitzes are absolutely amazing. Actually, my top 3 are all Intamins, but this ride is just amazing. I love how compact it is. I love the turns, turn after turn. This is like, when I think of heartlining, I think of this ride. Like when I'm going to explain how heartlining works, I'm going to think of this ride. Because this ride is just fantastic. And the launches, they're not hydraulic, but it's a good launch. And the first drop is just absolutely amazing. And yeah, you've got to ride this in the back, of course. And the 2 ejector airtime hills are, for me, I think they're the finest ejector airtime hills I've ever been on. But yeah, that's Maverick coming in at number 3. Let's move on to number 2. Alright now guys, coming in the number 2 spot is another ejector airtime machine. We're going to look at El Toro, Six Flags Great Adventure. Right next to King Dakar, which is one of the reasons, and I still think Grand Adventure is better than Cedar Point, but one of the reasons that I had over 30,000 steps at this park is they are right next to each other, yet you have to walk all the way around. I don't know why they built their park like they did. I'm not gonna, say they're terrible for it, but you do have to walk all the way around to another path just to get from King Dakar to El Toro. But we're not here for that. We're gonna talk about the actual ride. Now this ride, I mean, it's the best wooden ride, period. I mean, the lift. It has a Millennium Force lift, sort of. I'm not going to say exactly like that, but it's a cable lift. And, it's actually faster than Millennium's lift. It feels like. But, this ride is it just feels like it's not wooden when you're on it. This ride was helped build by RMC, and this is an Intamin prefabricated ride. But, I mean, this ride is just silky smooth. And when you get to the top of that ride, you're doing a turn, and then out of nowhere, you just dive underneath yourself, and you have no idea the drop's going to be that straight, because, again, you're on a wooden ride. You don't expect it. And the airtime hills, they're great. They do give you airtime if you sit in the right spots. Now, I'm not saying there's some rides where you don't get airtime. There might be. I might have experienced one. But, I mean, in the front, I thought this ride was actually better. And going over those hills, though, if you've ever been on an older Woody, like if you guys have been on Blue Streak, you know that noise it makes when you get to, when you're going over the top of the hills, and it just sounds like the upstomp wheels are just grinding at the track. You will still get that on this ride, because they don't want it to fly off when it's going over. But there is still a lot of ejector airtime. This is a great ride. I walked on it 3 times when I went there. I wish I could have done it more, but it's still an excellent ride. Alright guys, now the number one ride that I have been on, you guys are all going to take this as a shock, but I'm going to say it's Top Thrill Dragster. Now, I'm going to tell you guys the deep sentimental value this has with me before I tell you like the actual ride aspects that I like. Now, when I went on this ride, I just remember my first time. I was just extremely scared, and then after getting off of it, I was like, whoever made this ride is insane. Absolutely insane. And then, so I just started researching it, you know, looking things up about it. I wanted to figure out how it worked. And it was through that process that I figured out I wanted to be a roller coaster engineer. So that is why this is my number one ride, because it really is what jump-started me wanting to do what I want to do in the future. Which, you know, I'm going to have to work hard for. But, yeah, it's really what sparked my interest. So, you know, this 120 miles per hour launch, I did make another conspiracy video about this ride before this. You guys want to check it out? But, yeah, 120 miles per hour, 420 feet, you know, no over-the-shoulder restraints, which is why it beats King Ka, and there's other reasons. Theming. I love the theming on this ride. Whenever I think about this ride, I just get those engine noises right in my head. And, you know, it's just amazing. Red and white, and unlike Six Flags Great Adventure, you can actually walk by it, get beautiful images of it, and just see it in action, which is absolutely fantastic. I love this ride. I think it's great. Now, a lot of you guys have probably experienced downtime on it. I personally have not, but I still think, you know, it's just a great ride. Actually, I have. I wasn't on it, but inline. I've seen a few rollbacks too, but I think this is just a great ride, and that's why it is at the top of my list. Now, thank you guys for bearing with me. I'm still getting used to, you know, live calming, but just want to thank you guys again for staying till the end. These are my top 10. Be sure to subscribe and comment if you tell me your top 10, and be sure to like the video if you liked the video. You know, makes enough sense. I'm never gonna ask for like goals, guys, just because, you know, I think that's annoying. But yeah, I do have lots of other vids on my channel. Hope you guys will check them out. Be sure to subscribe. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Ideas in the buildings. Ain't no app for that. Turn a dollar into millions. Ain't no app for that. From the ground up to the ceiling. Ain't no app for that. Everybody wanna download D-Days. I'ma make an app for that.